Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode in my AI tutorial series. In this episode we're going to add the ability for us to hit our enemy AI and for them to react to our hit and turn around and face us. So before we get into that though, I want to fix a few bugs that was discovered by some viewers and myself when I was testing things out. And the bug in most people recognised was that yes, he can hear us, but if I walk in front of him he can no longer see us. So I'm just going to go through the solution to that issue now. Okay, so you want to go into your AI controller, and in the last video I put up some text on the screen to delete this on target perception outdated. So if you haven't done it yet, you want to delete this. Okay, the reason we want to delete that is because it's very specific just to the player character. We want to make this a bit more advanced and a bit more detailed. The next thing we need to do is change how this bottom one works. Okay, this updated perception updated. So I'm going to turn the majority of this into a function, and the bit I'm going to turn into a function is going to be everything up to this for each loop here, where we're taking this sense stimuli array. Okay, with it all selected, if you right click on it, you can go collapse to function, and you can name your function whatever you like. So here we're going to do is complete what should we call it? Let's complete senses. Not the greatest name in the world, but it'll do nonetheless. So there's our function, complete senses, and when we go in there we can see the code that we just highlighted. So this code is going to change somewhat. First of all, I'm going to disconnect all of these nodes here. Okay, and I'm going to right click on the array element and recombine the struct pin. This array element here is the AI stimulus structure, and I'm going to store that as a local variable, and this is why I wanted to put it into a function. So drag off of there and promote to local variable. We'll leave that like so, and name this one local sense. Okay, so here's my local sense. So on the loop, this is the sense that we're currently looking at. So previously we were setting a branch up with a condition of checking the tag for the noise. We don't want that. We're going to get rid of that. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the array index of our array. Now this is important because the array index actually refers to the number of the sense in the array. And the array, if we click on our perception, is this thing over here on the right where it says senses config. So array index 0 refers to the sight, array index 1 refers to the hearing. So with array index I can drag this out and type in switch on int. And this sets up a switch statement. And the switch statement basically is like if this then this, if this then this, if not do this, and so forth. It's easy if I just show you. So if I click on add pin, 0 comes up, add pin again, and here's 1. So if it is 0 it'll go down here, and if it's 1 it'll go here. If it's neither of these two it'll go down the default path. Now 0 was an AI perception sight, so we need to tie that into our sight value setting up. So I don't need this branch anymore. I'll get rid of this, and instead we are plugging this set value where I can see player to 0, like so. The boolean value is going to come from our local variable. So let's just make some space here so I don't get too lost in what we're doing here. Okay, so set value as bool. So if I can see player, I want to check whether or not I can or can't see the player, and this comes to the bool value. And as I said, this comes from our local sense local variable. So drag your local sense out and choose get, and you want to right click on here and split it, and this will go from local sense into the bool here. Okay. Therefore 1 on this switch refers to our hearing, so we can drag that into the hearing node. where checks for is investigating. and we've got the set vector value and the play sound. And these are going to be gathered from the local variable get, and I think we can just get out here successfully. No, so we just have to break this first. So right click, split, and we can hook up the boolean like so. Just make some space, and the investigation will be looking at this location here, where it investigates what it had just heard. There we go. And we've got play sound at location, which should be the same location point. Like so. And there we go. Click compile, and that's that function complete. So if I go back to my event graph, you can see it's a lot neater now. My perception updated, grabs all the actors that have been updated, get their perception and the senses they've been sensed, and go through those senses to find out which one has been triggered. So that's the first thing. The next thing I'm going to do is go into behavior tree. Now, I've mentioned before, and I'll say it again, the behavior tree structure matters a lot. So it always goes down the left-handmost path. So this order here can be changed quite easily if I were to move, say, this stuff over here. And this is what we want to do, because we want it to prioritize the chasing of a player rather than the investigations. That way, if they sees the player, it'll abort everything to the right of it. And to make sure it aborts, click on your can see player, and you want to make sure that it's set to both to abort. And you can see here it aborts lower priority, which is this stuff here. So you can't abort higher priority, only lower priority. So if you can see the player, this will overwrite and stop this stuff from happening. Click save, go back to your game, push play. So he can't see me, and then walk in front of him, he sees me. And if I push the C key for him to hear me, he sees me as well and chases me. If I'm hiding and I push the C key, he comes to investigate until he sees me, and then he chases me. So that fixes all of that issue right there and then. So onto the damage dealing. So to deal with the damage to the player, we need to set up a few things first of all. So the first thing we need to set up is the character's ability to actually do damage. To do that, we need to first of all create a socket on the hand that is actually animating the punch. So I'm going to go into my mannequin over here, and it is his right hand that is going to be throwing the punches. So what I want to do is create a socket on that hand. So in your skeleton tree for your skeleton, I'm going to find the hand that's dealing damage, and it is there. And I want to right click on this, and I want to create or add a socket. And I want to leave it as hand R socket. That'd be fine. And the point of this is so I have a reference point to the actual hand that I can use when dealing the damage. So with that done, you want to click save and close the skeleton. On your third person character, you have your input action attack and your play montage from a previous video. We're going to create a notification on this montage that triggers out this on notify begin. So to do that, you want to find the montage you want the notification to be on. So click on the little magnifying glass to find your montage. And at the bottom of your montage, you'll see notifications or notifiers. Let me just delete my previous one that I put in there while testing this. In your notifiers, you'll find a timeline, and this timeline refers to the animation. So you find the point that you want the damage to be applied. In this case, I want it to be applied here, and I'm going to right click, add notify, and then choose montage notify. With that added on, you can see it says play montage notify. You want to click on this, and on the right hand side you'll see notify name. You want to name this one whatever you want, but I'm going to call mine deal damage. Click save, and we're done with the montage. So now that notification is on there, when it plays, the playhead reaches that notify, and then it triggers this on notify begin. On notify begin, we can test this out with a print string. Click compile, and I'm going to just put the notified name in there actually as well, so you can see it for its accurately. And you can see that when I punch, the deal damage notification fires off that print string. So obviously we don't want it to print a string, we want it to actually deal damage. And the way you do this is with a line trace, or in this case we're going to use a capsule trace. So, or no, right, actually we'll use a sphere trace. Sphere trace is a bit better. So on the notify begin, you're going to drag this out and choose sphere trace by channel. And the sphere trace is going to put a trace out a sphere from the player's hand, in fact, outwards a little bit to determine whether it is interacting with something that can be hit by the punch. So the starting location would be the location of that hand mesh socket. So on that mesh, you want to drag your mesh out from your component list, and then from there you want to get socket location. And in here you want the name of that socket. So it helps if you've got the skeleton open as well. Where is it? There we go. And we'll make sure it's named exactly this. Okay. So hand underscore R capital S socket. Hand underscore R capital S socket. And that'll get the socket location in the world. So that'll be the starting point. The next point is the end point, and I want it to go out from the which way the player's facing. So you want to get the actor location rotation, and from the rotation you want to get the forward vector, and the forward vector we want to multiply by the range of the attack. So I'm going to keep it simple and just put in a hard value of 50, and I'm going to add that now onto my socket location, and that'll go into your end. On the radius here would be the size of your sphere, so I'm going to give mine a radius of 40 for now. We may have to tweak this in a minute. The trace channel we want to be changed to camera, and for testing purposes I'm going to say draw debug type to persistent. Okay, click compile, go back to your game, and let's test that out. So you can see where it's spawning the punch. Okay, so it's slightly off where I want it. I want it more in front of the player. So I need to go back to my montage, and I will need to just rework my location of my montage. Okay, so I'm just going to drag this a bit more forwards. Okay. Okay, click save, and just play around with it and see what you get. That's a bit better. Okay, so there is my deal damage, and you can see it goes green when it interacts and hits something. Okay, so we need to report back on that to the AI. So to do that, go back to your character, and after the sphere trace you'll see out hit, right click on that and choose split. And here's all the data from that hit, from the sphere trace. And the sphere trace, we've got out hit actor, and we've got the locations of the hit. So we need to report a damage event. So it's very similar to the report noise event we've done for the distraction, the noise, but in this case it's damage. The damaged actor will be the out hit actor. Instigator will be self, because it is the player dealing damage. The damage amount doesn't really matter in this case, but for sake of arguments I'm going to put in 1. And the event location would be the out hit trace, out hit location. There you go. Click compile. In fact, let's make the damage the out hit trace start. There we go. So when it hits it, it knows where the hit come from. So now we've set up the ability for the character to report a damage event, we now need to receive it. To do that we need to go back into our AI controller. In here we'll click on the AI perception component, and on the right hand side you'll see the sensors configuration we've been using. So you can see the sight and you can see the hearing. We want to add one more to this, and we want to choose the damage sense. Dominant sense we can change here to damage as well. That just prioritizes damage over the rest, but you don't have to. That's totally fine. There's not much to set on the settings for damage, so I'm going to just leave it as it is. Okay, so damage sensor is now configured to be able to be sensed. If I click compile and then test this out, if I turn on my apostrophe default debugs, so I hit the apostrophe key and push 4 on the number pad, you can see the events, and you can see the damage event come up in the red circle. Okay, so I need to be able to report that back to the actual code and do something. Now the reason why you're still hearing the is because we haven't added the switch on int to change for the damage. So previously we set up this switch on int to be 0 and 1. We need to add one more pin to this, and that's 2, and that will refer to the damage configuration that we just added. Now for 2, what I want him to do is basically the same as the noise. So I want to do everything the same as the noise except for the play sound at location. So I'm just going to disconnect the sound at location for this for now and put it up here. And I want the 1 to go to the play sound at location, and then that to connect to the set value as ball. The location is going to be grabbed from here, so I'm going to local sense receiver location, and the 2 then will go and connect straight to the ball. So it cuts out the play sound because I don't want a sound to be played. Click compile, and now if I push play, I can whack the character, and he lost me. Where? Go on. There you go. Why is he still playing the sound effect? Okay, he's still playing the sound effects sometimes, so why is that the case? Let's have a look, shall we? Okay, so I found the issue. The issue was that we haven't done, or I haven't done, is I haven't checked whether or not we actually successfully sense the player when we're doing these checks. Currently it's just cycling through all of these, so it's playing all of them at once. So to avoid that, we need to actually put in the successfully sensed in as a sort of branch for each one of these. So to do that, we're just going to move this down, and let's just tidy this up a little bit. So on successfully sensed here, we're going to drag this out into a branch, and on the branch we are going to plug that into the play sound at location like so. So if we are successfully sensed, it will play the sound and then crack on with the investigation code. And if it is damaged, we're going to go down here and we need to check or not the boolean is true. It don't really matter, I don't think. I think we can get away without doing that. It doesn't harm, we can just do it. So we'll put that up there and down here. Successfully sensed into there like so. So now if we push play, it shouldn't, hopefully. Yes, so it doesn't hum when he gets attacked. Okay. So now you can have a sparring match with this AI. So he's not chasing me because I turned down whilst I was testing all this out. If I go into my AI perception, into my sight, I decreased my success range. I'm going to change this to 600. So a bit of distance. Whack. And I can bash, bash, bash. Done. Okay, and that is it for the AI damage sense. If you have any questions or suggestions of what kind of AI behaviours you want to see next, please leave a comment below in the video. And if you want to support me, head over to patreon.com/RyanO'Leary, where you can see future videos in AI series and many other videos as well, exclusively to my Patreons, as well as access to our Discord and other benefits too. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.